So, Highlander is one of those movies that, as a male nerd, you're kind of obligated to know something about, even if it's the bare minimum of knowledge, because it is one of the few nerdy things that pretty much all traditionally masculine men tend to agree is like awesome to the point that it's become kind of a joke. Um, I do not necessarily consider myself a traditionally masculine man, at least not totally so, and I still very much like Highlander. It does have some depth to it, even if sometimes that depth only serves to make me bemoan what could have been, as opposed to what actually is, and what will be. Because those lunatics over there, those lunatics, they're making another Highlander movie, a reboot of the original movie with frickin' Henry Cavill as Connor MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod, the immortal warrior. And he's not Scottish. But then again, neither was Christopher Lambert. In fact, I dare say he was definitively not Scottish, even a little bit. Um, and while Cavill at least is of the British Isles, so that's something, I guess. But I really don't know what to say about this one, about Highlander in general, because it's like it comes across as very much a very fun action movie with a cool premise. But there is that element of depth, right? You've got the story of the Highland warrior, right? Connor MacLeod, who gets killed in a battle. A battle, mind you, against my Scottish ancestors through the Fraser line, as opposed to the. I'm not going to get into a whole genealogy report here, but I'm related to the guys who killed Connor MacLeod, so that's something. But he is reborn an immortal warrior. He cannot die. He gets stabbed and shot and whatever, and he's fine, which is wild. And he's found and tutored by another immortal, Ramirez, who is played by Sean Connery, the great Sean Connery, great acting talents, kind of a rotten egg as a real human being, but that's neither here nor there. Ramirez, the character, is an ancient Egyptian pretending to be a Spaniard, played by the very Scottish Sean Connery. Don't put too much thought into that. I did, and it gave me a headache. But there is also a modern day storyline going on. There is a modern day story where MacLeod is one of the last immortals left standing. He is throwing down with this fella, the Kurgan, who was a mercenary in the olden times. He was a wild barbarian, the last of the Kurgan tribe. From historical, prehistoric. Uh, it's a thing. Um, but he's one of the Kurgan tribe, and he's this horrific monster. He is the Mountain from Game of Thrones in a lot of ways. Before the Mountain was even a thing. And if you don't believe me that that's maybe what he was going for, like a that he seems like very much like this Clegane type. You just look at his armor in the distant past, and it looks pretty close to the Hound's armor from Game of Thrones. I'm pretty sure George R. R. Martin was a fan of this movie, um, which would not surprise me even a little bit. But you wonder, how can any mortal die, right? If MacLeod and the Kurgan are the last ones standing, how can they die? Well, they die if you chop off their head, like a vampire. Um, so when they get their head chopped off, the other immortal takes their power, their knowledge, their ability into themselves, and become more powerful as a result. It's kind of a neat premise, right? And look, I'm not I'm not gonna say Highlander is the greatest movie ever made. There are plenty of better movies out there, and ones that I just simply prefer more than Highlander. But there are some really interesting, amazing concepts dealt with, and some impressive fight scenes. Don't get me wrong, and Clancy Brown as the Kurgan is just this incredible villain for the movie, this cackling psycho son of a gun who really sells the kind of apocalyptic nature of this sort of final showdown between these superpowered mortal gods. And Lambert as Connor McLeod is this very artful, moody hero, and he kind of sells it too. This very deeply troubled individual. It's it's fine. It's a pretty good movie. It's a great standalone movie, and I promise you, a sequel would have ruined the whole thing. So I'm glad that didn't happen. Or another one after that. Or another one. There was only one Highlander movie, and that's that. There was only one of them. Um, so yeah, but now they're making a reboot, and usually reboots of things suck very much, very definitively suck. I'm not saying that this one will suck, but I'm not saying that it won't not suck. Um, Cavill, I trust. He will take his part in the movie very seriously, as with every other role he's ever been in. And he'll play it to the best of his ability, right? But his talents, be though more than adequate for the role, they will not decide the quality of this movie. After all, he was The Witcher, and The Witcher show was not great, in all honesty, and it had honestly an amazing cast. It just wasn't great. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is the Highlander reboot needs a good script. I haven't heard anything about the script, so I can't say for certain whether it will be or won't. There's some things that they can do possibly even better than the original movie. I have heard that they cast, I think it was Russell Crowe as the Ramirez character, which is actually it's not a bad idea. I mean, if true, that's not bad. The rest of the rumors surrounding the movie are kind of bonkers if you think about it. And I won't trust any of them until I see it with my own eyes. I I just don't think Highlander needs a reboot at all. Or even much of a reimagining. I think the special effects might very well. There's room for improvement, definitely. It's an older movie, and it shows when you watch it today. Um, Aside from that, elements of the story I think could be reworked, fleshed out a bit, because at the very end, um, I'm just going to say the reward for being the last one standing is kind of weak. I think at least it could have done it could have done with a rewrite a bit. It could have been presented better, if that makes any sense at all. It could have had some more narrative payoff. And I also can't really imagine who they're going to cast as the Kurgan, because Clancy Brown was just, as always, he rocks as a villain, and in this, he's just a freaking nightmare. Again, Clancy Brown showing that he could very easily play the crazy guy from Blood Meridian, right? The what with the baldness and the mass murders and whatnot. Um, but never mind that. I'm just gonna say that unless they cast freaking like an actual like strongman, right? Someone in the vein of Hafthor Bjornsson. I mean, you're gonna be hard pressed to find someone super intimidating compared to Henry Cavill, right? Who's been The Witcher and Superman, and seriously, in most cases, he kind of looks for like a he looks like a beast already, right? He looks very dangerous and competent, and you'll need someone even more, even taller and bigger and more muscular than him, right? If you were going to go for an accurate portrayal of the original Kurgan character. Do we even have that many super giant muscle bound actors anymore? Like maybe they'll go for something else entirely. Maybe they'll go for they'll do a bit of a Rob Roy thing, and maybe they'll give us like a smaller, more devious, swashbuckling villain who throws down with the fearsome Scottish Highlander. Yeah, yeah. Like I don't know. I'm just some guy on YouTube, but yeah, I am gonna throw it out there. I do not want a reboot for Highlander. I'm against it, and I protest. But if you're gonna do it, please do it right. Please make it better than the original. That there are. It's been long enough that we know what few problems there were with the movie. If you just fix those and then do a pretty much a shot for shot reboot, then that's good. You've elevated the story. That's all you need to do. So yeah, bye. Also, the entire movie has a soundtrack by Queen. So yeah, maybe it is the greatest thing ever.